Thank every one of you for attending today's ThreatProtect Managed Service webinar. Today, Rob Villano of CCSI, a cybersecurity practice manager, will be doing the presenting. Now, for those of you, I see some people are customers and some may not be customers, but for any of the attendees that aren't familiar with CCSI, we've been in business since 1974, and our core competencies center around what I like to call multiple silos. One of those silos is infrastructure. So it incorporates the data center. It could be a brand new IT build, switches, edge routers, firewalls, IPT-based solutions, wireless solutions, disaster recovery type solutions, cloud solutions. We do video surveillance and also access control. And then we have customized solutions around hardware maintenance offerings. And that could be anything in the data center, in the infrastructure. We also have 24/7 application monitoring solutions, and we're a managed service provider. So our network operations center is 24/7 by 365. And then today what we're going to be discussing is our SOC offering, so our Security Operations Center. So we provide managed security through our ThreatProtect security offerings, which Rob Villano will be going into in greater detail today. Now, for any questions during today's call, please message them to our webinar host, Catherine Irizarry of CCSI. And then following today's event, she's going to be sending out a survey. And for all completed surveys, you'll receive a complimentary Starbucks gift card. And again, we really appreciate your feedback. It's a lot of the feedback that we receive from prospects, from customers that we developed each month or every quarter, different events, what you want to hear, what you want to see, what keeps you up at night, what's important to you, what are you hearing today, current in the industry. So we really appreciate, all of your input. Without you, we can't make this happen. So at this time, no further ado, I'd like to take this opportunity and introduce you to Rob Villano of CCSI.
Well, thank you, Joe. I appreciate the intro, and welcome everyone to CCSI's webinar this morning for ThreatProtect Managed Services. My name is Rob Villano. I'm the Cybersecurity Practice Manager here at CCSI. A little bit of background about me. I'm a data privacy advocate. I specialize in safeguarding the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of sensitive data. I've done so in highly regulated industries, such as financial services and healthcare. And so I hold a couple of information security certifications, and I really enjoy collaborating with clients to inform them on their cyber practices, associated solutions, and risk assessment remediation strategies, all in an effort to better protect their sensitive and proprietary data. So in preparing for today's discussion, I came across a report where IBM looks at the cost of a data breach, and it's dated 2020, but certainly can be used today. And so the thinking there is that they did some research, did some of the analysis, and it was a little bit surprising to me that the average time to identify a breach in 2020 was 228 days. And the average time to contain a breach was 80 days. That means people are really in your networks and you may not know it. And so the conclusion here is there's a need for improved network visibility, detection, and response. We'll talk about each and every one of these areas today and the importance of them and why the ThreatProtect product or platform is so important in identifying these areas and providing for these kinds of things, right? Visibility, detection, and response. ThreatProtect is a managed endpoints detection and response solution. And it affords you the ability to be able to see these things in real time. So I think many of us are familiar with the term ransomware. And one of the key or major sources of ransomware is what's called RDP, or Remote Desktop Protocol. It is a service that's provided by Microsoft. It gives you the ability to remotely access your endpoints. It's very popular among network administrators, system administrators. It's an easy way to get into your network in a secure fashion if it's configured properly. some of the areas in looking at ransomware and how it's propagated or how it's even initiated, ZDNet put out an article based on some Sophos research, and some of the areas that produce ransomware, phishing attacks. I think we're familiar with that. Malicious email, 48% of that by way of Office files, meaning the Office file was attached to the email and someone clicked on it. 10% of it was an unpatched system, and many of it in 2020, there were spikes of nearly 800% in RDP attacks, a really important risk vector. And so I wanted to review that because it's such an important risk vector. And RDP played a part in 90% of the attacks used for external access only, in just 4% of those attacks. External access and internal movement was 28% of those cases, and it produced 41% of the cases for internal lateral movement. So that's a really important statistic there, internal lateral movement, because that means someone broke in using RDP and is now moving internally within your network. Not a good place to be. We'll talk about what can be done with regard to preventing RDP types attacks. Certainly with our platform, there are other best practices that you can utilize as well. So as part of this discussion today, really important things, 3 takeaways that I hope that everyone comes away with today. An understanding of what managed endpoint detection response is. We hear it a lot. We'll talk about what the attributes of this really is. And then we'll look at, the second item, which managed services and our differentiator, but particularly important is the people, process, and technology part of it. You need the 3 to have a really effective managed service. Here at CCSI, we pride ourselves on having all of it. And so we'll get into that as we move along. There's the people, the process, and technology. And so the third item would be you're capable of integrating managed services within your own environments to implement a layered cybersecurity defense. We call this ThreatProtect. ThreatProtect is not only managed endpoint service, it's a series of complementary services, which we'll get into in a bit. So here at CCSI and overall in the cybersecurity industry, we recognize that hackers don't sleep, but then neither do we. And CCSI offers the ThreatProtect platform to be able to monitor your infrastructure and your endpoints 24/7, 365. You can be assured that someone is minding the store, if you will, on that 24/7 basis. We do so by way of continuously monitoring your network activity and providing real-time attack visibility. There's that term again, visibility. You can't protect what you can't see. We provide that ability of seeing in real time. We have adaptive behavioral models. What that means is we're using machine language and artificial intelligence to understand what's anomalous to your network, what's anomalous to your users, what's anomalous, quite frankly, to your endpoints. We take that information and we can integrate it within our SIEM, Security Incident and Event Management, state-of-the-art platform that we use. And we're able to understand what is actionable and what may not be actionable in a real-time sense. We have our adaptive behavioral analysis. That's a long term for really saying that we're able to isolate, certain types of events from your network. We, on a risk-based priority list, we prioritize, score, and correlate, as I mentioned, those threats that we detect for your key assets to be able to understand what needs to be acted upon, what needs a runbook approach, and what does not. So that's really important because we don't want to alert, obviously, on everything. So what is ThreatProtect? Well, it's a platform, a series of services from a managed service perspective that we incorporate that reduces costs, prevents security breaches, and eliminates downtime, quite frankly. And it aligns very closely with NIST CSF, that's the cybersecurity framework from NIST, where it identifies, protects, detects, responds, and recovers from your cyber threats. We implement this or use the following managed sets of service. So it's managed endpoint detection response. We'll get into this in a little bit. There's a managed network detection and response where we're on the wire and looking and capturing packets and looking at are these packets nefarious in nature? So we'll look at that. We're able to take all of the logs associated with your, your perimeter defenses, your firewalls, and such, and we can integrate that and forward them to our state-of-the-art SIEM, our Security Incident Event Management platform. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we can correlate these events on what looks anomalous via our machine learning analysis to detect anomalous activity. All of these services are flexible and customizable. We're happy to meet with you to discuss them as well to make them fit the needs of your environment. So let's look at managed endpoint protection, right? Conceptually, managed endpoint protection is, it consolidates the endpoint device security into a single function. Really important for our IT folks out there. We don't have to look all around for this information. It's on the endpoint. We're able to look at anti-malware, spyware, and antivirus, even firewall activity and application control. We go beyond actually host-based intrusion prevention, and we offer behavioral blocking. So if there's a port or a protocol or a service that's open that shouldn't be, we're able to shut that down very effectively and very quickly. We're capable, as I mentioned, of integrating with other security solutions. So for configuration items, we can integrate with vulnerability scanning, patch management. This ultimately results in a thorough defense in-depth strategy. And our endpoint attributes are evaluated against predefined security rules. What that means is we have runbook capability. We can develop these very specifically for your environments, what to do, how to do, and when to do. Those are what runbooks are capable of. And so our managed service via central server, and we'll look at the architecture later, those activity reports are available to you as a customer in the cloud. So you have that visibility anytime you wish. So in preparing again for today's discussion, I put together some Security Operations Center examples, or SOC examples, for our ThreatProtect platform. This is the value add and what we have our eyes on. And these are just a small subset of what we're looking at. But I thought to present this for you so you get a sense on what managed endpoint detection and response looks like. And so just looking at process-based threats, we're able to take a look at and block if someone's elevating their privileges internally on your network. Clearly, that's a violation. It's something that it should not be happening unless it's based on policy. We're preventing process hijacking, so we're eliminating or blocking threat execution, right? Where it should not happen. We're blocking adware or spyware, unwanted applications, and dare I say, crypto miners, which is an important feature of today and ransomware potentiality. We're blocking unauthorized Windows registry. It's clearly known threats to an operating system. PowerShell is a wonderful tool, but it should be authorized that those scripts are being run and executed. So we're looking for anomalous activity for PowerShell scripting. And then we're blocking file encryptors, which are ideally or are understood to be associated with ransomware. Clearly, we want to block those types of activities. Some additional SOC examples of network detection and response, the second service that I had mentioned, right? So I think many of us are familiar with the Log4j Apache vulnerabilities in web servers. We're able to detect those external attempts or indicators of compromise, if you will. We're able to understand and detect those strings associated that are maybe being passed to hosts internally. We're very concerned with, and you can see Microsoft Exchange vulnerabilities, right, for public-facing Exchange vulnerabilities. So we're able to detect and block even those. And then for public website facing solutions for web applications, PHP injection for those code injections are really, really important to look for. We're capable of detecting and blocking those as well. And so when you look at a SIEM, the third part of that managed service are really important solution to integrate all of that rich information from logging activity throughout your enterprise. We're able to detect brute force attempts. We're able to do that in this world of remote working. So, for example, a remote employee modifies his home network and now is allowing port 3389, which is RDP. And through the use of domain controller debug logging, we're able to understand that he's now introduced a brute force attack to his own network, and we're picking it up on our network. That capability allows us to eliminate his endpoint device, make him aware of it or her aware of it, and then we can go even a step further and verify the usernames used in that brute force attempt to understand that those usernames were not compromised. A really important thing to do there as well. Finally, this is all brought together through the use of machine learning activity for anti-malware and anomalous behavior. We want to understand what doesn't look normal to your network. We want to understand what looks unusual. This artificial intelligence capability allows us to do so. And so to move forward, what does the ThreatProtect architecture look like? This is a very simplistic network diagram, but I thought to include it, we begin at the endpoint as we always do. So there are endpoint logs that we're collecting based on the agent that is installed there, and those are being forwarded ultimately to through VPN to a centralized server. And that's number 2 here in the diagram, right? And so that's where we can take action, and we can now understand and see and do some analysis, forward it to our SIM if we wish, all of that information, so our analysts can, make calls on and understand through our AI as well as other techniques to understand the alerting associated with that and what needs to happen to prevent against those threats that are coming on to your endpoints. That's done through a console, our administrator analysis on a console back here in Bohemia through our SOC. And so we'll talk about our SOC in a little bit. So here's a table of all of our ThreatProtect services and our supplemental services as well. Complementary, all of them are. And so, I've defined it as, an objective, our service, and then the client deliverable that you can expect. And we mentioned you want to protect critical assets, those endpoints that archive or store critical data. You want to be involved in managed endpoint detection and response, managed NDR or network detection and response in our SIM. This goes a long way to cover you 24/7, 365. Certainly, we offer network penetration testing to understand the strength of your network perimeter defenses. This should be done on a regular basis. Managed firewall is a key area for us. We manage firewalls from a performance and a security and rule set perspective, very important, as well as maintenance of the device. And then we offer proper endpoint configuration, really important stuff, because we all know in this time of putting forth project after project in the IT space, there's such a thing called a configuration drift, and those security items that need to be bolted down a bit better. We're able to see those vulnerabilities from our vulnerability scanning service. We do reports on those for you directly. We work with you on remediation steps or even rescan to make sure those steps are now in place and we don't see them on our scans. We'll help you with patch management, obviously on a regular basis, to be able to remove those vulnerabilities that you haven't accepted the risk on and appropriately patch them from a security perspective. Here at CCSI, we have done a number of security incident tabletop exercises with top clients in the financial as well as healthcare area. Really important to understand how you would respond and recover from a cyber event. Security incident tabletop exercises do that. And then finally, you can't have a strong cybersecurity program without a cybersecurity risk assessment. We do these often for our clients, and it enables us to understand their environment and the gaps associated to close those risks so that you can have a stronger defense in depth posture. And so we have talked about people, process, and technology. Here at CCSI, we incorporate this in our platforms and the services that we offer. The people part is we have engineers on staff who are SAN certified in SOC. They're certified in networking and security, those areas which we specialize. We, as Joe mentioned earlier, we've been in business since 1974. Our process part of it, where we'll meet with you on a regular basis. We offer custom run book to identify with your environments, work with you within your budget to define what needs to happen to reduce risk from cyber attacks in a very custom way. And then the technology part, right? We offer best in breed technology on our platforms. We will do so in a way that allows you visibility through our customer portal access. We're always interested in providing for synergies with your current install, right? We don't want to eliminate what you have. We want to work within it. And then clearly risk assessments are very important to define what to protect as critical assets. And so I thought to put this up here. It's somewhat technical, but I thought to put this up here to give you a sense of scope. So if you asked us to, and you wanted to come on board to scope your environment, what would we do to bring you on board for the ThreatProtect platform, right? So we'd speak to you very specifically about identifying what type of data is out there that you may want to send to our SIEM, right? What's important to you, right? Every customer is different. There are different data sets that are important to folks. We would meet with you to understand your business and understand what's important to you. We would estimate the number of messages per second, right, that you are interested in from a network perspective, and that defines alerting. What types of mitigating incidents are we looking at, or are we just looking at monitoring, right? That defines either SIM or just monitoring. How long should we retain the periods? Many organizations have well-defined mandates for regulatory requirements, right? We can think of the financial services or healthcare industry specifically. And that gets into our compliance or regulation mandate, as I mentioned earlier. We need to determine the number of logs, right, and systems, and we identify a device list. Inventory is always important to define a cyber program. And as mentioned earlier, we want to identify your critical assets. And then finally, we're going to baseline all of this for alerting and response. That's the key process here. Before we go online, we're going to baseline this and look at what looks normal, what's typical, and what the appropriate response should be. All of that sets us up for success. So what do you get for cybersecurity monitoring as a service? Well, you get these things. You get asset discovery, vulnerability assessment, you can get network behavioral monitoring, you get the SIM, and certainly endpoint protection. These are just some of the things that we bring to bear for you for a complete defense in-depth strategy and solution for 24/7, 365 monitoring, so you get that level of assurance. And so CCSI has a number of differentiators, and today it's really important. You know, with the outbreak of the international incident that we've seen in the Ukraine, it's really important to have someone have your back. And we differentiate ourselves here at CCSI based on that. You know, we'll have you 24/7, 365. We'll do our monitoring. We're alert. We're responsive. We have security engineers on staff, as I mentioned, who are certified. We'll look at protecting your critical assets. We'll have you understand prior to onboarding what we're looking at, as we described earlier in the earlier slide, the onboarding mechanism that we take. We're located here in Bohemia, New York. We have a SOC and NOC staffed here right on Long Island. We offer best-in-breed technology, custom run books, and we're managing. We're not just monitoring, right? So we're going to partner with you very, very closely. We're not just looking at popping alerts and then sending them out to you, unless you so desire, if you have your own staff. But certainly we offer the management capability, which is really important, and we offer that defense in-depth approach, which is a key strategy for your existing network and protecting it, especially in this time of international crisis. And so our strategy is simple. Well, as I mentioned earlier, we align with NIST CSF. Those are the colored circle wheel or wheel that we see here. They identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. All of our cyber services are aligned with this. Many you can see here. If you'd like a copy of this, we can make it available to you, or it's on our website. And so, we offer the managed email, the managed endpoint, and managed firewall that we spoke about. We even do security awareness training, which is a very key component for a complete and thorough cyber security program. So come to us, have a conversation. we'll set you up for cyber success, if you will, with regard to these services. And then our SOC Operations Center, the key function or key area for what it is we look to deliver. At CCSI, we're SOC 2 Type 2 certified. That's through the AICPA, a consortium for service organizations. We've been certified as such, and so you can rely on the fact that we're appropriately protecting the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information. Again, we're located right here on Long Island in Bohemia, and we have certified IT professionals. We're a member of HIA Long Island, and have won quite a few awards by these publications, which we're quite proud of. And we're a true 24/7, 365 organization. So with that, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Really appreciate your time. I hope you received some key information here. I'll take questions, and if there are any, certainly happy to respond.
Hi, Rob. Okay, so we got a few questions in. The first question we got was, what can be done to prevent against RDP attacks?
Well, yeah, and it's a great question. We talked about it earlier. RDP is a real focus for ransomware. We want to be really sure that you're protecting against it. One technique is to use an RDP gateway or remote desktop protocol gateway, so that you're only opening up that port 3389 in that service on one host internally as opposed to many. You don't want that port open. It prevents, again, exposing it to the internet by error. And so an RDP gateway is really important for distributing RDP internally, one access way out and in, if you will.
Thanks, Rob. Another question we got in was, as a part of the Ukraine crisis, what can organizations do to prepare and protect against destructive malware being used?
Well, I think it's a really great question, really spot on, especially during this time. With the international crisis that's taking place, we really need to be mindful of our cybersecurity hygiene. So, are you doing a pen test? What do your network defenses look like? Have you patched recently? Vulnerability scans. Have you looked at configuration or misconfigurations within your environment that introduce security weaknesses or vulnerabilities? All of these things lead to risk. Risk ultimately leads to the potential for exploitation. Exploitation leads for data breaches, right? And you want to eliminate that to the best of your ability. And you certainly want to have a platform that's minding the store 24/7 like ThreatProtect. So having said all of that, there's an additional way you can, and CISA, which is the Cybersecurity Infrastructure and Agency, it's a federal agency. They work hand in hand with the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI. They offer a lot of great information with regard to this, and so they're always helpful with regard to the cyber defenses as well, especially as it relates to international malware, which is what we're seeing right now because they clearly have their eyes on these kinds of things.
So we got another question, kind of going off that question from someone saying, what basic tools do you recommend for smaller businesses, though?
So, there are a lot of basic tools. You want a good endpoint detection solution, and certainly we offer one. We offer it for small, medium, and large businesses. You want to have that to be able to monitor your endpoints. You want to certainly, and everyone needs a firewall these days, certainly for protection or network protection from the internet, from those bad actors. You want to make sure that you're utilizing email security, right? We touched on it briefly, but clearly those phishing scams need to be prevented. Small businesses can absolutely have security awareness programs to train their users what not to do, making them better informed so that everyone has, a say in security for an organization. These are all important areas to kind of stack one on another to have a real defense in depth posture. We're happy to talk to small businesses. We have quite a few here that we speak to on cyber services. And so we help those as well as medium and large businesses as well.
Thanks, Rob. This is the last question we got in, was what type of monitoring and detection does CCSI offer with ThreatProtect?
Well, there's a number of things that we certainly offer, right? You know, we had talked about it briefly earlier, and you know, we have lateral movement. You know, we offer internal reconnaissance. You know, data exfiltration. We look for botnet types of behaviors. Those are the kinds of monitoring examples that we offer. We spoke about our process-related protection mechanisms, where we're looking for Windows registry edits that should not be taking place, right? We looked for, those types of things that are anomalous to your network. And we do that from a perspective of 24/7. And that's why the baseline is really important, quite frankly, because that baseline really sets us up to understand your network in a better way and ultimately what's anomalous to that baseline, right? Okay, it looks like we've completed the questions that we have for today. With that, I want to thank everyone, and please complete the survey and get that back into Kat for us to be able to improve upon our webinars as we move forward. And at CCSI, we want to be your cybersecurity provider. We can certainly help strengthen your cyber defenses.
Rob, just a little in closing. I just wanted to say thanks to Kat. Thank you, Rob. That was very informative and detailed. So I think our audience appreciated it. And for all the attendees, thank you for your time today. Really appreciate it. I know everyone is busy. Your account managers will be following up to discuss next steps. And again, a reminder, the survey. If you could please do the survey, we really appreciate your feedback. And let us know. Let us know what other things or what you heard today is of interest, and we can focus on specific topics as well. So this concludes today's event. Thank you again, and have a great day, everyone.